Hey everyone, welcome back to This Is Us on AfterBuzz TV. We are going to talk about an emotional episode. We learn more about William's story and him and Randall have a road trip before bad things go down. Very sad episode, but we're ready to dig into it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, I could cry already.
Oh.
Hey, you guys. Welcome back to This Is Us on AfterBuzz TV. This was an emotional episode, so we're going to try to break it down in the most respectful way that we possibly can. This was Season 1, Episode 16, titled Memphis. I'm one of your hosts, Whitney Lane. You can keep up with me at Southern_Wit, and I'm joined with my lovely co-hosts.
Hey guys, I'm JJ Jurgens, and you can follow me at JJ Jurgens.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. My name is Amber Plaster, and you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Amber Plaster.
Hey everybody, I'm Erica Shannon, and you can find me on Twitter at Miss Airy Baby.
Oh, goodness.
It was heavy.
Yeah, this is a really tough one, and, you know, there's really not an upbeat part of this episode. I mean, we get to learn more about William's story and where he came from and what made him go into drugs and all of the things that kind of led him to who he becomes. And then we also got to see some good moments with him and Randall before the end of the episode, which I guess we should just go ahead and talk about it because we can then talk about what led up to it. But
Spoiler alert, guys.
we did lose William this episode, so that was a heavy one, and I can't pretend that I've ever had a show where I've had to talk about something so real. You know, like for this, I don't know how you all felt, but you see death in TV shows often. This one was very raw and relatable. It wasn't something like someone's killed off and you're like, okay. Like this was, we got to know him and we knew his personality and we saw how much he affected other people in his life. And so, of course, we knew the day was going to come, but it's come now, and it makes it pretty difficult to go through watching the show. And I don't know, I'm having a hard time. I don't know how you all felt about that one.
Yeah, I think very difficult. I think the positive for me is the fact that he got to go out in such a great way, you know, with his, I mean, not through the pain of the cancer, but I mean the great way was taking the road trip with his son and going to see, I love the moment where he's at the tree, you know, meeting
with Jack.
Yeah. And so I thought, you know, of all ways, at least they knew they had this amount of time left, and that Randall, you know, didn't just keep working, that he took off the time from work to make this happen and have this time, this last day with his dad that he would, you know, never be able to get back if he had just kept working. And you know.
I would say that's something that you'll never look back on life and say, I regret that I didn't work that day. You're never going to. And that time when Randall left to go home and be with him with the hospice nurse was locked out of the door, Randall's never going to regret leaving his office to do that. And that's just life in general for everybody. Everyone's had an experience in that sense, But
from the beginning of the episode, didn't we find out that Randall had basically been off for 5 days already? Because he was in the hospital?
Yeah, so if we take it back to that, we see that before they're even getting to go on this road trip, Beth has taken Randall to a psychiatrist because she's very concerned about him naturally. I mean, he had a serious breakdown. He was definitely had way too much on his plate, as we talked about last week, and I guess ended up in the hospital for 5 days. So I guess this road trip, in a way, was a great ending to... I mean, you know, and a kind of a fresh start for Randall in a weird way, but also, like, a good way to kind of be with his dad and something that wasn't really stressing him out. He was getting to go and kind of see where this person came from and learn more about him.
He seemed to be doing, Randall seemed to be doing a lot better, even just, you know, hearing him kind of be drunk and playful on the phone with his wife, Beth, and he's like, I have cousins, can you believe it? And you know, you can't fault him for being excited, but he was living a little bit, and he wasn't in his own head, which is so much of anxiety, right? Is picking apart every detail of your life and mulling over it. And he was just like, no, I'm just gonna like be present with my dad while I have him. And a lot of people in the chat are saying that he got to, you know, say goodbye to him while he got to say goodbye, and a lot of people don't get that. So I think that this was a wonderful send-off for a much beloved character on this show. I think it was like a complete love note to William's character. Yeah. I loved it.
I think even more with his story too, because I think we could all have assumed that okay, he got into music, he made it big, and then that's why he was into drugs because he fell into the success, and so I like that we got to know more about that, how he wasn't that guy, how he was on the straight and narrow. And then how it reacted, how he changed after his own mom was going through this, and so I like that we got even more tidbits about his past too. I think
let's talk about his story. I do think that before they left, as you see them fist pump in the doctor's office, because they got around Beth, who I think is just amazing. I mean, of course you're going to be concerned about your husband. Of course you're going to leave notes about all the protein or the fruit and whatever produce section in the car that you give them. But what the interesting thing that I realized towards the end of it is William knew. Like, he knew he had a few days. And I think I don't know, I've not been in this position, but I've been secondhand, to someone that is going to pass away. I think they know. They get to that point where they know. And nobody else wants to always believe it, but they kind of get to that and they say, okay, well, this is it. So how am I going to spend these last few days? And you see him say goodbye to the girls. And I knew kind of then that this must be it for him, because he's waking up the girls and he's saying his little, when I'm gone, don't forget to play chess. Like, that was life, And so that's when I kind of knew in general. But yeah, I mean, we got to see this road trip of him also kind of sending Randall off into life with great tidbits of how to live it to his best ability.
From the beginning with the roll the window down, turn the music up. Just enjoy I looked at it as just enjoy the journey. Like, we don't need maps. He threw them out the window. He's just like, let's just ride.
Let's live it. Let's take
just
detours.
Enjoy each other's company.
I like that he gave him tangible things to do, like feel the fresh air and listen to music. It's almost like he was giving him another lesson to be like, okay, kind of like how Jack did with young Randall. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. Like, he gave Randall another coping mechanism, like let the wind down,
Or a way to be nice. Like with him. Like, William was one with the world and with the earth and with the moments of life and like living in that presence. Or in the present, and Randall not so much. He's very caught up in other things, which we've seen. I think what a great gift he was given when he did knock on his door, because now he has that opportunity to learn those things that maybe it'll affect him in a different way. Like, I do have pieces of my dad that I can remember by rolling down the windows and like smelling the fresh air and that sort of thing. And as we saw Randall being very type A, like, no, Philadelphia is a whole hour out of the way or whatever it was. Like, that's life, detours and things that you don't expect. And I think that's William, again, saying, just go with it, feel it, because that's what life is going to be. And you can't control everything, or it's going to lead you to be in the hospital because you can't cope with it in that sense. And you shouldn't have to. Nobody should. Yeah. So I do like that he got to pay his respects to Jack.
Oh, absolutely. That was very kind.
And you just see, again, what kind of person William is,
And him actually having a conversation with Jack and saying thank you. Because of you, my son is who he is now, and I just thought it was a really honorable thing for him to do.
But also, knowing his story now, do you fault William for giving Jack up?
No,
for giving Randall up.
I don't even think I did then.
No,
when
I don't.
I learned about it.
I would never judge somebody for giving up a baby for a better life.
Yeah, he knew, and he was like, I can't put Randall or whatever his name would have been, but I can't put him through that. I know how life would be for him, and it's not right.
It makes me sad knowing that.
Good.
Yeah, because I do think, I don't think William had to have had that tough of a life, and just judging, going by what we see, who his strong character prior to getting involved with drugs, so I feel like that's the part that makes me sad, is that he didn't, if he could have gotten himself cleaned up, that he didn't have to make that choice and let him go. But on the other side of having a family with addicts who made the opposite choice and seeing the effect that keeping a kid ruins their life, then I'm glad for what he did, because I think it was the right choice if he wasn't able to turn things around.
I think it's hardest to have seen his relationship with his own mother, and we see how close they were and how that was just the twosome, you know, and he writes about that and you see how much he loves her and she calls and he runs to the phone and like that is such a strong love and such a great relationship that I have no doubt that he regrets that he didn't get to do the same thing, knowing that he learned from such a wonderful parent. That I think was something really cool to see about William, because sometimes you think, and we don't know when we're watching these stories, this drug addict of a person, what were his parents like? Were they also on drugs? You know, you assume the worst almost. Like, how did he end up there? But then we kind of see what made him spiral. And at first I was like, is it his cousin and the drugs and the fame and the writing? You know, and you see a whole different thing. So that was like, I think just so like enlightening, and that's what the show always does, is kind of puts a twist on it that you may not.
Well, even I think we both thought for a second that the cousin was going to be the downfall. Like, I thought the cousin was going to take all of his ideas and his stuff while he was gone. Yeah, while he was taking care of his mom. So I love that they had the twist, and that's not what happened, because that's what we all expected.
Completely supportive.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, shout out to Brian Tyree Henry, who played his cousin. He's also on Atlanta.
Oh,
He's
really?
the star of FX.
Well,
Atlanta.
he's one talented
Paperboy.
singer there.
Paperboy.
Yeah.
And what an interesting dynamic, too, because, that, you know, as cousins, and you can see he's trying to live this life, but, like, he respects William for exactly who he is. He's not pressuring him to do anything. Sometimes he invites him, you know, that sort of thing. But it looks like he was equally as hurt when we see William walk into that bar, and he never came back for him, you know? Yeah. As I'm sure William felt in a weird way, like his mom didn't come back for him. She kind of got stuck in a different life, and that's what happened to him, too.
And that's what I was thinking just now about William giving Randall up, is that he didn't have that support system because his mom had already passed away. Randall's mother had already passed away. I'm wondering if he had picked up and gone back to Memphis, would he have been able to keep Randall? Because then he would have had family around. I think it was because...
Who else was his family? I guess maybe his
cousins. Yeah, so they had parents, which were probably his, first cousins, aunts, uncles. He would have had some sort of support system, but being in Pittsburgh, he was all, or wherever part of Pennsylvania he was in, he was all alone.
Yeah, and I think everything happens in a way that, like William still had to get to, like, learn who he was as a human. And as we hear him talk about, he said, at the beginning of my life and at the end of my life were the best parts of me, or like whatever the quote was exactly, you guys may remember, but that shows it. Like he truly, and we see him as such a great human being, like so close to his family and his mother, and he's so sensitive and talented. And then he got a little off track, as life can throw at you. And then you see him come back around where him and Randall had this relationship, and he had this chance, he had an opportunity to kind of wrap up his life in a way that he felt at peace. I don't know, man. I think he left a lot of insight for me as a human too, right?
Yeah.
You learn all of these things, and like you kind of take little pieces of everybody you learn, like you meet in life. And I thought he was a great example of live it, enjoy it. Like I know when I messed up, and I can't get those years back, but I'm going to take advantage of where I am right now.
I think there's something special about kind of assigning a grandparent or a parent to an animal, so that whenever you see that animal, you get reminded of them, because you're going to see animals again. Like I have a friend who every time she sees a butterfly, she's like, I swear that's my aunt, I swear, and like I love that we see the little ducklings at the end, and now anytime he sees a little duck in a park, he's going to think of William in a good way.
So do you all know the stories about the ducks? So the Peabody Hotel is in Memphis, and they have ducks walking around in the lobby. So everybody that's there, you just like, and that's why he kept being. He wanted them to see the ducks. He wanted them to see that part of Memphis. So I thought that was really cool where it did come full circle at the end of like, hey, wanted you to see those ducks, and guess what? Here they are.
Yeah.
Here I am, whatever it may be. But, oh, y'all. Just truly an emotional situation. I don't even...
This is the kind of episode that you need to just be at home, snuggled with a blanket.
Exactly what I wish for, because I think I would have ugly cried instead of trying to, like, keep myself together.
Yeah.
We hope you guys are all snuggled up warm at home.
Yeah, definitely. Tears flowing.
Getting a good cry on.
Yeah.
Just letting it out.
Isn't it also such a cool story in terms of, like, your judgments on people, right? Like, I would have never thought... I don't know. I would have thought that William was always in drugs or whatever, like that sort of thing. And like what a judgment you make without knowing someone's life story. And we see what happened. It was his mom's passing that really affected him, and the woman he happened to be with at the time also doing that. Very easy for him to slide into that. And like, I think that's also such another like lesson, and this show is constantly full of them, is to think about this stuff before you judge anybody. It's hard to do because life gets in the way, but like perspective sometimes it always brings you back, and you're like, you know, who am I to judge when I have no idea what that person's been through?
Right.
Yeah, that's this show for me, at least. I like take these lessons and I think, man, they relate to your life. You can always pick a way that it does.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. And you know, you see Randall kind of trying to have that control at the end still. I've got to take him back. I have the means to fly him back. Like, he wanted to do all of these things, which everyone does when something like that's about to happen. You try to find some semblance of that control when all is lost at this point and you have no control over it. And I think that moment between them, like when he was holding his face and you kind of see these flashbacks of everything he went through in life. You know, I think nobody really lays there at the end of their life and sees the negative. Wouldn't you see all the happy moments? I would pray.
I would hope. Yeah.
So.
And I like hope. And I like that William didn't want the girls to see him like that. He said he didn't want them to look down at him. And that moment between Randall and William just reminded me of this book that I love. Like, it's my favorite book of all time, called Love You Forever. And it's a children's book.
I know that.
Oh, I have that.
It's good.
And how it goes from the child being a baby and the mother rocking at night to the mother being older and the child rocking her at night. That's the first thing that I thought of. So for kids, if you know of any kids or anything,
For
I
adults,
definitely recommend that
someone
book.
sent that to me as soon as my mom passed away, and I was like, man. And this is like a real hard one for me too, because exactly how that happened at the end was kind of, you know, I was in that moment. It's hard. This is not an easy one.
Yeah.
Shoot. I don't think I've ever cried on an after show. But yeah, that was a tough one, and everybody has something. You know, people can relate to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep.
Shoot.
I just love that this show continues to break our hearts and mend it at the same time. And I think that it was a really beautiful send-off for William. And I love that the kids were kept a little bit at a safe distance.
Protected.
For it. And I'm glad that we got a lot of closure on William's entire arc as well. Because how he got introduced is just sort of this heroin addict. We were quick to write him off. And it was nice to see the progression of his pain and the coping with the pain and falling in love and the grief and the loss and everything and the care that he puts into every single relationship, even with his mom.
See, and that's what will be interesting, I think, moving forward, the grief and the way that Randall deals with that, because we know his mother, Rebecca, kept this from him for so long. Like, is that going to come up again? Or all these... You can also see him as the girls are trying to celebrate certain things next week. He's very standoffish about it. It'll be interesting to see kind of now the ups and downs of the, like, grief that he goes through. I do love that Beth realize certain things, like let's make a memory box and do things like that they've been leading up to, and I think that's so important, especially for the little girls. So
she's such a positive force of nature. She's wonderful.
That is one cute couple right there, and they are so good for each other. Like, that's a good support
Even
system.
the therapist was like, "Aren't you guys adorable?"
They're like, I know,
we
both
are.
of them. I know. So good. That was a cute moment for sure.
Yeah.
I'm wondering where Jesse is in all this. Is he gonna learn of William's passing through Randall? We haven't seen him in a few episodes. But as far as we know, I think they were still hanging out together. Yeah.
Oh.
I could imagine that.
That's how long it's been.
That's how random that character was
Yeah.
for me. I didn't like him when he was introduced, and I forgot him already.
Well, see, I could have imagined that William would have tied that loose end up as well.
That's
This
true.
is the end for me. I'm going to go spend these last few moments that I have with my family and my son. Like, I feel like he was not selfish in that way, you know?
Yeah.
I would hope so, at least. But
But
yeah,
I-
maybe we'll see.
I love them driving through Memphis and them stopping to get food and
Barbecue looked on point.
and William taking Randall to the barber shop, like father son.
I felt like I was there. I felt like I was in the barbershop.
Yeah,
like
they
I
were
was
just-
like like in a music video. I was like, I went to Memphis today, you guys. It was
How
pretty
about
great.
going to the house and taking the stuff out as treasure?
That's nice. Yeah. And what did he say?
Oh my
He
gosh,
said,
the guy with the brick. He was just like,
Those were great moments,
the
though.
world sticks and moves. That's very interesting. It's like
I
there are
know
new
with
people in the house that you grew up in, but your toys are still there. I just think that there's something deep about that.
the
There
writing
is.
on this show.
And
Yeah.
that's what he was, and that's
So
why it'll be
good.
so interesting to see the stories that he wrote for My Son, which I love seeing that be given to him, and I think that's so helpful too. And maybe Jesse will be a part of this because he can learn so much. Randall can learn so much by hearing stories about his own dad through these other people now that he's met. So another gift that he was given in a way to learn more. He didn't get enough, obviously, but at least he has stories and things that ugh.
And that's even
rough.
more stories for us to hear about William.
Yeah, I don't
even
think
if it's just
he's-
flashbacks. So
And I think he'll still be, and that's
Yeah.
what's exciting is to get to hopefully still see him as part of this show. That's the
Oh,
good thing
yeah, I
about
hope so.
TV, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Randall will have another mushroom smoothie and we'll get to see William again.
that'd be cool if we see Jack and William together.
So
I'd
what
be
about
down.
that moment, speaking of, when he obviously passed and he sees his mother? And I've always read or heard, you see them in the most beautiful, at their most beautiful time, right? And you see his mom as that young, youthful, healthy woman. And you see William at his old age hugging. I thought that was such an incredible moment, and actually a reason to have faith, right? Because it's okay, let's pray that there is something after this where you get to be connected back to these people that you love the most in their prime.
And what I loved about it, and I don't know, maybe I interpreted it wrong, but it looked like he embraced his mother before he took his last breath. So it was almost
was,
like
coming
he was on
into
both
it.
sides. He was, saying goodbye to the last person in his life as he was saying hello to the first person in his life.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was almost like, seeing the light. This was where he was
Right.
walking.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
he was imagining as
Yeah.
he was going to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
It was
that.
good, you guys. The show has some insane directing and acting and writing, and it is just so real. And I don't think I've ever watched a show where somehow I connect to one of these characters or all of these characters every single episode.
And nothing is ever false or fake,
Yeah, not over the top.
Right, yeah. The tears and just Randall sitting in the car. I just love seeing those moments where he's driving back and just trying to breathe and and you can just see all the just rawness on his
Yeah.
face, and it's just
It's
So
true.
good.
It's not soap opera. This is life. This is us, right? This is us.
Yeah.
That's what it is. No matter. It makes sense. It's just I'm kind of always in awe of this show every episode that I watch it.
Yeah.
yeah, because they're not tackling easy scripts, easy scenes, but they all just they make it all work. So
And the
well.
fact that they can take, we've seen 2 episodes now where it's basically just been 2 specific characters. And there's still a compelling story
And
there. And we're
monologues,
still in it every single minute. I don't know if there's any other show on TV that's doing that right now, where it's just Jack and Rebecca's the focus of the episode. Now William and Randall is the focus of the episode. What do you have?
Orange is the New Black does that very well. It's the only other TV show I've seen do that, feature just 2 characters, and you're
In the whole episode, though?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Well,
They did one on
whatever
Red.
they do, they keep it on
Yeah.
target.
Oh, that's true.
And we're I like it because we also get their stories in a deeper way. And that's
Yeah.
what's really cool about
It's
it.
difficult to do. Yeah.
I guess we'll see, right? I feel as if, is there anything else you guys, I feel like this is,
I feel like that was it for
and
me.
we'd obviously love to hear from all you guys, so keep in touch with us about your thoughts and feelings on this episode. It's it's a sad chapter to close, but I do feel like we'll get to see some more of William and these stories unravel.
I'm glad we were all here
Yeah.
together for this, and everyone in the live chat. If you've lost someone, I'm glad that you're here with us together, because I think we've all gone through a loss, and seeing this episode always brings back old stuff like that. And I love how beautiful that this episode ended. And we are going to have a break. We're not going to be on next week because there's going to be no airing of This Is Us next week, but we want back on the week after that.
Yeah, there's only 2 more episodes left in season 1, so I think we should maybe get into a few of our predictions that we see coming up.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Do you guys have any?
I still am going to stay, I think, the one I said before, where I don't think Randall's going to go back to his job as it is. I think he's going to stay in the same line of work, but I think he's going to work from home or be a consultant or do something where it's not as rat racy all the time.
I see that. When something like this happens, too, it gets to the point of life is too short type of thing. And
his girls, and
you know he has success and the ability to be able to take a lesser role and to find his peace in a way.
Yeah.
You know, mellow out a bit and enjoy it.
I think we might see him doing some more fun, like picking up some weird hobbies, or I think there's going to be some humor that is going to come along.
Him
with
and Beth
his
smoking a
process.
little bit once in a
Maybe
while.
a little more of that, yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna piggyback off that and say, since we saw him get on stage a little bit tonight, I think he and Kate might try to do something musically together.
Well, yeah, they did plan it a little bit. Beth said, "You sound good." Even when he was just singing a little something. Maybe he will find. Maybe that's what it is. It's all these new hobbies, and you know, maybe it's going to take him a while. I almost see it taking a while to like find himself and get back into the rhythm. Like I think he's going to be a very different Randall, which is going to be hard for everyone around him to adjust to.
Ooh, I like that.
While he kind of figures out who he is, because I think he definitely is going to struggle here in different ways. And maybe become like really live his best life in a way.
Maybe he will
gonna
grow,
be hard.
grow out his fro and become a little
Yeah.
hippy dippy and annoy his brother. I would watch that. I
would
would
be
I would
awesome.
watch all of that.
I still predict that him and Kevin are slowly going to grow closer here. Like he may be pushing people away, but I think in ways there's these relationships are being crafted to where it's going to be such a tight knit family that maybe these relationships that weren't like that are going to change because he has an opening.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this is also going to help Kevin with his play. I think it's going to be a smash hit. I think that he's going to be not necessarily become a theater actor, but he's going to be taken a lot more seriously and maybe even use some of his quote unquote real life influence in it in his storytelling.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that would be great because we've all seen him have this wall up, and he's starting to feel and be vulnerable and like selfless, But I think it'll also help him with his relationship with Sophie. And I think that's gonna shift it a bit. When he's more open like this, which he probably wasn't like in their marriage. I hope. I really like, I don't know, I really like them together.
I feel like if there's anybody that Kevin's really open with, it's Sophie, though.
It's a
So
good
I don't
history.
know if
I want to
it's-
see the history. I would love to
Okay.
predict that we see more of all of that and how it got to where it is, 12-year gap in their relationship or whatever. Is that how long?
I think so,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what happened there.
More lava fries. I think there was actually a picture of Justin and Alexandra, I believe is the actress's name, outside of the diner where they meet. So I'm predicting more lava fries in the next couple
We
episodes.
should see.
I suddenly want fries.
Anything else, you guys?
That's it.
Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in again. 2 weeks from now, we'll be back. Where can everybody keep up with you until then?
Hey guys, keep the conversation going with me, Erica Shannon, on Twitter at Miss Airy Baby.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. My name is Amber Plaster, and I have a Star Wars React series out on my YouTube channel right now. If you are into Star Wars, check it out. And you guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Amber Plaster.
Hey guys, you guys can follow me at JJ Jurgens.
And thanks for tuning in with us tonight. We know that was a tough one. You guys can follow me at Southern_Wit. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.